David has been with the MNC Group for over 13 years, and he's worked across many divisions in production, in technical, in regulatory, and is now the Group CEO for all the media assets. He oversees 4 free-to-air stations, pay TV platforms, and streaming services and content production, including the #1 free-to-air station, RCTI. On any given evening in Indonesia, over 30% of Indonesians are tuned into one of MNC's stations. MNC owns the largest set of transmission towers across Indonesia, giving them the ability to engage and entertain right across Indonesia, both in a country that's both geographically and culturally diverse. They're also in a unique position because they provide 40% of the local content for Indonesia, which equates to about 15,000 hours a year of content. This is a massive amount of content that they can provide to their own network and to partner networks. The group, over the previous years, has seen major shifts in ad spend, moving from the multinationals to now the local advertisers, with large increases in sales around areas of cosmetics and food. I'm looking forward to discussing with David a little after his talk just some of the challenges, the size that Indonesia brings, and also how is Indonesia coming into the digital world. So please put your hands together and welcome Mr. David Audy.
Thank you, Craig, for the kind introductions. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending my session today, in which I will present a little introduction about MNC Media, Indonesia leading content and television company, which is also amongst the top 3 largest media player in Southeast Asia in terms of revenue and EBITDA. Then following after that, I will highlight some recent industry developments in Indonesia, in particular, the issue about internet and how it's affecting the ecosystem, and how we are preparing ourselves to maximize future internet in media opportunities. Now, when we talk a lot about internet and media, most people think that internet disrupts traditional media business, just like Uber has shaken up the transportation industry. While that is true for newspaper and any form of printed media, the impact of internet have actually been more positive for content and television business. And if you are in this business, you will realize that internet actually provides more flexibility. In addition to linear broadcasting, it lets you reach those audiences that you cannot get through linear broadcasting. And as recent findings suggest, with internet, more people are actually watching TV content. The same is true for its revenue opportunity. Internet has been proven as an excellent new channel to distribute your content, and you will earn extra income coming from its monetization. Although a lot of the above are happening in a significant way globally, it has yet to come for Indonesia, a country with one of the largest population in the world, presenting many future potential, but still lacking internet infrastructure, which might be chronic due to its geographical challenges, and also still lack of buying power with GDP as low as 3,800. Still a long way to go to the threshold of GDP $10,000, which internet monetization will be profitable. I will highlight some of the data about that later, but first let me introduce about MNC briefly. MNC is the leading content and television company in Indonesia, having operations from FTA televisions, pay TV, both direct-to-home satellite and fiber-to-the-home broadband. MNC is also the largest local content producer, producing 15,000 hours of content per year, and sitting with 270,000 hours of content library, which represent about 40% of the local content market. MNC operate 4 out of 10 national private free-to-air stations, with RCTI as the #1 TV station, for an average of 20 out of 27 years of operating history. Our historical track record of running 4 national FTA stations with top audience performance and highest TV advertising market share in the past 27 years have proven that we know local market better than anyone. Our combined audience share is about 44 to 48% during prime time, and our TV advertising market share is about 40 to 45% every year. Other than the station, MNC pretty much produce in-house most of the local content that we show. We control everything from upstream to downstream, through various business units that consists of a continuous supply chain throughout the business process. MNC also run its own talent management company, managing over 400 celebrities that star in our TV show and also other non-MNC television. We pretty much very focused on Indonesia as it represents major growth potential. And we want to focus all our energy and initiative to capture the majority of that growth. We started with a vision: where do we want to go, how to get there. We focus in quality in whatever we do, and we deliver with speed to do things first before anybody else. And we always continuously improve our business process to be better and better. Our consistency in producing quality content will be the key to sustain MNC into the next era. Because whatever platform it may be, quality content will always be the key. We also invest in our people, hiring and retaining the best media professional in the industry. Last but not least, we continuously learn from media market in other countries in the world, searching for best practice that is applicable locally, and analyzing global trend to assess how it will impact the local trend and prepare ourselves for the future challenges. Indonesia has the lowest rate cut for TV ad spot, just like you can see in the slide, compared to other Southeast Asian peers, despite its largest population. This represents future potential upside. As you can see, MNC rate cut, that the one in the color in red, is only $5,000 for a TV 30-second spot. This is very low. Even compared to a country like Vietnam, we are like still very low. Compared to Thailand and Philippines, they are like 2 or 3 times our rate cut. Even with this lowest rate cut, MNC is still amongst the top media company in Southeast Asia in terms of revenue and EBITDA. We are at the number 3 and 4 position after Astro and ABS-CBN. We are very confident and excited with our future potential, which is why we just recently invested in major capex. We spent $250 million building these 4 buildings with 48 new studios, and it's just completed this year. The aim to build this is to enhance our content production capability, both in quantity and quality. The new studio will be key to improve our on-screen quality and increase our production hours in the coming years. Now let's talk about the internet. Does internet disrupt Indonesian television industry? Before that, let's take a look at some key stats. We have 258 million people, of which 88 million is internet users. And out of those 88, 79 million are active social media users. We also know that Indonesia have 326 million mobile phones, of which perhaps close to 50% are smartphones. And then we know that Indonesia has 66 million active mobile social users. This data tell us that the majority of page views are coming from mobile. 70% of internet access in Indonesia are done using smartphone, just like the research from Nielsen. But there are a couple of other research too, quoting different numbers. Most of them are above 70%. I even saw other research quoted figure as high as 93% access from mobile phone. But the majority of conclusion is that Indonesian access internet mostly using smartphone, which the percentage between 70% to as high as 93%. And according to Nielsen, this number is growing. Surveys show that mobile phone is the #1 device to access internet, and it will remain so in the next 5 years or so. Preference for mobile phone to access internet also has steadily increased, with preference for all other devices declining. What are these Indonesians doing with mobile phones accessing internet? Research shows that time spent on internet are mostly social media and mobile messaging. This slide shows you that one thing that interesting is social media. Again, let me repeat, social media and messaging. Yeah. WhatsApp is #1 in Indonesia. So the next slide is going to show you more detail about internet usage. Of course, first communication, second social media. They also use a lot for transportation. This is probably like Gojek and Uber users. And then games, shopping, maps and navigation. It's nothing here is about like subscribing to Asphalt or any kind like that. I believe YouTube is probably categorized in the somewhere like social media by this research company. While YouTube is a UGC, it's not specified on this research. It's believed to be majority of video streaming consumption that dominates perhaps almost all of the video streaming market. Another interesting finding is that time spent on page view traffic on internet are dominated by Google, YouTube, Facebook. This made up 50%, almost 50% of the internet consumption. You can see that the blue bar is others. What is others? That's like adult sites and non-brand safe sites, which is not really covered in the research. Yeah. Another interesting thing is that Indonesian local top 50 sites only contribute about 12% of the page view traffic. And then in terms of ad spend, it only takes 15%. Yeah? The majority of ad spend, maybe more than 80% of internet ad spend goes to Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Yahoo. Now, how these internet developments and recent facts have influenced television audience behavior? Let us take a look on this data. Based on the recent Nielsen survey, it is not surprising to see the number of smartphone users and internet access growing significantly. But surprisingly, the number of audience, TV audience, are still growing, even though it's only like 2% last year. But the point, it is still growing. Note that this linear audience viewing, and it does not include non-linear audience viewing, such as those from OTT, TV on demand, or any kind of other platform, or any of other content shown on YouTube. It's not including all of those. If we include all the platform, offline and online, I believe the number of TV audience is still growing for Indonesia. Why is that? Why? Because content consumption are still growing healthily in Indonesia. Why? It's because it's the cheapest form of family entertainment. It's free. In a country with GDP of 3,800, people just love free stuff. And of course, TV consumption still outweighs digital and internet consumption. This is true, not only in emerging markets like Indonesia, but TV consumption is also still very dominant in the developed country like USA. In Indonesia, people consume an average of 5 hours a day watching TV and 3 hours a day on the internet. But it doesn't mean that they spend 5 plus 3, 8 hours a day. That would mean they're either unemployed or have nothing else to do. But it's rather an overlapping consumption, meaning that the total 5 hours is combined, where the 3 hours people are using internet while watching TV. Another interesting fact is that the FT audience in Indonesia is dominated with 35 years old and plus. That's the red part on there. And also the purple color. Yeah, I'm sure that everyone in this room has heard arguments about millennials. Those are the age of 18 to 34 years old. Some is like 26 to 30 something years old, depends on which research house you quote. And Gen Z is those below 18 years old. Yeah. So I'm sure it's also not the first time that you hear that millennials are decreasing, the number of millennials that are watching TV. But I actually have a different interpretation of that. To me, I always thought that people are in the age of teenager, they don't really watch TV. And that is true. Whether you live in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, 2010, or today. Teenagers just don't spend much time on TV. Did you remember ourselves when we were teenagers? Do you go out and hang out with your friend, or just stay home and watching TV, right? No teenagers really spend time watching TV on the weekend, right? I mean, at least I'm not. But when these teenagers grow up to be adults, have a family, then they will spend time watching TV. They watch for themselves, or they just turn it on, while they're doing something, cleaning around the house, or they're probably accompanying their kids watching TV. But the point is that when these millennials become older, they will consume TV, just like the Gen X now. The red one is the Gen X, and now they are like the biggest part of our TV viewers. Another interesting TV facts that is positive for TV industry in Indonesia is that 90% of online Indonesian consume TV regularly. And while they consume it, they're most likely talking about TV show. So all of these factors combined make the prospect of Indonesian broadcast very bullish. Currently, television commands about 65% of advertising shares, according to Nielsen, and online about 11%. But to be honest, I think the number should be higher than 65%. Why is that? Because the data from Nielsen is basically gross rate cut. They did not apply the discount. Craig, please correct me if I'm wrong. That is what I know my best. But you know that the newspaper online, they have a huge discount. In TV, we only apply discount like 20 to 30% out of the rate cut. But newspaper or like online, they can give you discount 90%. So if you have the net number, the number should be higher than 65%. But 65% is already good enough. It's already high enough. And this is true. If you talk to your friend who works in WPP or Dentsu or any media agency, you just go and ask them. Nobody will tell you that they are below 70%. Everybody will say to you 70 to 80% of their client's budget will be on television. So what will happen in the next 5 years? Of course, it's estimated that online will grow to as high as 19% in the next 5 years. But most of this growth will take away market from not TV, but print. Print is still very big today. It's 18% still. In about 10 years ago, it used to be like 30%. So going forward, this will be where the online will take their market share. While TV is expected to stay resilient at about 62.5% in the next 5 years. Today, even in the United States, television advertising is still about 35 to 37%. Perhaps similar to online numbers. Is Indonesia going to be like USA in terms of internet economy? The trend will be similar, but Indonesia may never become as advanced as United States. Why? One simple reason, because of the geographical challenge. This is the map of Indonesia. We are a huge country. We have 18,000 islands. Not only huge, but we have 18,000 islands. With 70 to 80% of our territory is mainly consists of sea, water, river. So, it is extremely costly to build a complete broadband infrastructure that covers the whole country. Today, broadband penetration are about 6%. In the future, we expect this to increase only in the 10 biggest cities of Indonesia. But outside of those 10 cities, there are thousands of cities that will not be as wired because it's just not economically feasible. We are nearing the end of my presentation. So in conclusion, we expect that the digital internet to continue to evolve. But looking at the presentation above, we also know that monetization will not come anytime soon. But we still need to prepare ourselves to maximize future internet opportunity. And in choosing the digital initiative that MNC would like to do, we always ask ourselves two questions. First, is the market ready? And second, is it going to be profitable? And if it isn't, is it going to be burning money and bleeding? First, let me tell you that we are not a rocket internet company, nor we are near any business model of any internet startup. I'm not saying I think Rocket is a great company. You know, they obviously are able to identify a lot of potential startup and make a lot of money. But we are not rocket internet company. Yeah, we only choose to do digital if we know if the market is ready and if it's going to be profitable, at least in the near term, not after 20 years. And if it's not, and yes, we probably, if it's not profitable, yes, we probably still gonna do it, but not in a significant way. Obviously, unlike any startup that is burning shareholders' money to create traffics. Before I end my presentation, I will quickly highlight some of our recent digital initiatives. RCTI is the #1 TV station. It is the most innovative when it comes to mobile and internet. 3 years ago, we launched this application. It's called RCTI Second Screen. And it has had an excellent reception when combined with our top show. One example, we combine this with the Rising Star. We get audience to download our app and vote using the app. And we are able not only to gather 100,000s of app downloads, but we can also capture some digital dollars, selling the advertising solution to our clients. RCTI Second Screen developed from knowledge that our audience are actively using their device and creating conversation in social media while watching TV. Not merely creating two-way of communication to our audience, we also collaborate with brands and create brand activations. This app contributes about 40% of our MNC digital revenue. Other than this, we also do a lot of stuff on YouTube. We have multiple channels in the YouTube, like RCTI. And there is another successful example. That is our Star Media Nusantara. Because we have 400 celebrities under our management. So we have a lot of content. We have a lot of TV content. We have a lot of not made-for-web content. And the talent itself, like the music video, generating a lot of traffic. We manage the #1 talent in Indonesia, which is Ayu Ting Ting. And she has 17 million IG followers. That's probably the biggest in Southeast Asia or Asia. And she has like more than 100 million views on YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel for Star Media Nusantara continue to produce 13 million views every month. We also have okzone.com, which is currently the top 3 news portal in Indonesia. Okzone has 3 million daily unique users with 10 million daily page view. And we also utilize social media significantly to help promote our TV show. Here are some summary key stats for our social media account. We have about 1 million YouTube subscribers in total for all the channels. And we have 16 million IG followers for the total of all our IG account. And we have 10 million likes on Facebook, 30 million Twitter. This number, we start to be serious on the social media starting last year. So in the next few years, these numbers will increase significantly. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So David, thanks for giving us that. I want to call it a snapshot, but it was a lot more than a snapshot. The breadth of MNC Media from talent management all the way through to the #1 broadcaster. How do you manage free-to-air, subscription TV, your OTT services to make sure that they don't cannibalize each other but continue to grow?
You're talking about the SVOD?
Yeah, no, so how do you balance all these assets to make sure that you all grow rather than one hurting another asset?
Right. So our main theme of our strategy is synergy. And we started this like 10 years ago. As you can notice, we have 4 national free-to-air and competing for the same Indonesian. So what we did, we tried to segment those TV stations. Of course, there'll be some overlapping, but we try to minimize the internal competition. Like RCTI focus mainly on TV drama, and then MNC TV focusing on variety show. We have Global TV focusing on Hollywood content and Western, Asian, Korean movies. And then iNews TV is basically news content, so it doesn't really compete with each other. We're going to apply the same strategy, like digitally.
And on the digital strategy, you recently announced a new OTC service, Movie Bay. Could you tell us a little about that and what sort of content will Movie Bay?
Yeah, so Movie Bay will be launched perhaps next year. And basically, it will contain our content library, plus of course with some Western and Asian TV content. Okay. But actually, to be honest, MNC strategy today is more to maximizing the value of our content library. So what we're going to do, and which we actually already did, we sell some of our content library to company like iFlix, Hook, and we are talking to various telco operator and also some other OTT players. There's currently in the market, there's probably about 8 to 9 OTT players. But iFlix and Hook is probably the one that you heard the most because they have been engaging in very aggressive marketing promotion. So this is our target in the future. Unfortunately, Netflix today is not allowed by Indonesian government, but I believe, and hopefully one day it will, so we can also sell our content to Netflix. And I know Netflix is a big buyer of local content in India and in various other countries.
From a pay TV point of view, it's always been interesting looking at Indonesia and seeing that the pay TV penetration is not as high as other Southeast Asian countries. Do you think we're going to see that change over the next 5 years with penetration increasing?
Yeah, so currently the pay TV penetration is below 10%, which is like still very low. It's probably like 6 to 7%. One of the reasons is because of the GDP. Yeah, GDP 3,800, people don't really have this disposable income to pay extra. And also another reason probably because the free-to-air is so good, you don't need to subscribe to pay TV. Because like we show a lot of for example, like movies, the window is very short from the cinema until you can see it at home. But obviously, as the economy improves, more people will have money in their pocket. I believe the pay TV penetration can only increase.
Okay, and yeah, because with the country being so sparse, sort of satellite delivery is certainly the best way to get the content delivered. What are your thoughts on once digital terrestrial comes along, once the government have cleared the hurdles and actually got industry agreement? Do you think that there will be additional stations, or they will hopefully just allow the current stations there to digitize?
I think the DTT is, DTT you means the mobile?
No, I mean the terrestrial DTT.
Oh, digital. Yeah, yep. Currently the government is still formulating regulation, how to migrate from the analog to digital. Okay. Yeah. So what we are doing right now as an industry player, we keep talking to the government. We told them, if you want to do this, the best case example is to follow United States, Japan, Korea, and then Malaysia, Singapore, and a lot of other successful countries, rather than following Thailand and Italy. Because for example, in Thailand, television from 3 suddenly becomes 60, and 10 years ago, and today, the revenue is like half of the 40% drop compared to 10 years ago, and majority of these new 50-something stations are losing money. So we don't ask for oligopoly. What we ask is an economies of scale. So to produce content, you need scale. Yep. If like suddenly TV become 100, while the advertising only grow by single digit every year, it's difficult. It's tough to produce a quality content.
So the whole world is talking about growth at the moment. What do you see as the growth opportunities in Indonesia for next year?
So I think in terms of the rate cut, TV rate cut, like I point out in my presentation, is still very low. It's too cheap. Yeah. If you compare to Singapore, for example, Singapore is 4 million people, maybe 5 million. I know that Unilever, P&G, and a lot of the multinational are paying tens of thousands of dollars per ad spot. Yeah, perhaps as high as like 30,000. In Indonesia, they only pay like 5,000, but they're selling the same product, like Sunsilk, shampoo, Pepsodent, you know, to 250 million people. In terms of business size, Indonesia is much larger than Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, or any other country in Southeast Asia. But in terms of rate cut, it's very low. So going forward, our challenge is how we can increase this rate cut to maximize our revenue.
And I imagine it's going to be quite a challenge. So I'd just like to thank David for his insights today. And I think we can all see that the potential in Indonesia is there's still more to be recognised, and NMC are at the forefront of addressing the challenges of this huge population. So thank you, David.
Thank you, Greg.